So, Baz, so I was talking, like, your movie, EPiC, Elvis Presley in concert, premiered at Toronto on Saturday. I was at this screening. I've never been at a screening like this. People were literally standing up in the crowd, singing and dancing during the movie. I've never seen anything like that. They were so engrossed by Elvis Presley, the way you presented him in this. Like, had you ever experienced anything like that before?
I would like to tell you, I mean, I made Moulin Rouge. I'd like to tell you, yeah, sure, all the time. But it was kind of in the best possible way, totally bonkers.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a moment when, I mean, it's a 2,000-seat theater. And there was that moment, which you would have seen, where there was waving and then people were jumping. They were applauding the numbers. But then, when they sort of rushed the stage, I think they expected him literally to reach down and hold their hands. It was kind of crazy, but in a wonderful way.
Is that the first time you saw it with that kind of big crowd?
Oh,
Is that the
yeah. Oh, yeah. I just literally mixed it. And, you know, some of the young kids where we were mixing it saw it. Nothing. I would say it's the least tested film I've ever done. I mean, that was the birth moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
So watching the movie, I was like, obviously, you have all this incredible footage of Elvis Presley that's never been seen before, right?
Yeah.
Like you unearthed. And I just was like, I had such a newfound appreciation for him as an artist and stuff. And I guess obviously this crowd certainly did, because I felt like they were just so, like you said, like expecting him to literally come off the screen maybe.
Yeah.
I guess like when you found this footage, like what was your first impression of this footage when you found it? And then like kind of like how did it make you think of Elvis maybe differently than you had previously?
Well, I want to just go back to the earlier point you made, because actually the whole concert thing, the fact that he sounds like you've never heard him before, the fact that the image is something like you've never seen before, but as now it's been screened a few times, the overwhelming takeaway, or mainly also from kids who don't even care about Elvis, they just think it's a Halloween costume, has been, I really like him. And so many people, even fans, I think the empathy, his goofiness, his humor, I think if we did one really good choice, it was to say, let's have Elvis sing and tell his own story himself. Now, part of that moment of deciding that was that when and I'll get into what we found in the salt mines in Kansas in a minute, but one of the things we did find was 45 minutes of him, never before heard audio tape of him telling his own story. With Elvis, all of the doco and all the stuff about Elvis tends to be someone else telling you about him. You know, put gas in his car, you know, wrote a book. But the thing is that what happens is, back 7 years ago, we make a reel. I'm getting into making the Elvis movie. We hear that maybe there's this mythical missing reels from the Vegas show. I had the resources and the money to go into the salt mines in Kansas City and look for it. The guys go in and say, actually, and I'll get the number wrong, but it's like 56 hours of negative, but no mag, no sound. So we look at it. I decide not to use it in the movie, but then I've kind of got this material. And I'm also getting, like, from the fans, things like, you know, release the files, you know. And I'm like, oh, my God, I got to do something. And John O. Reb and I, who's my creative partner in this whole venture, is the editor. And we go, well, look, we can't, because also to get the sound, we had to go and find secondary sources. Now, I don't want to get too technical, but basically work prints were made and VHSs. So we were able to get the sound. I was so lucky to go down with Peter Jackson and his team at Park Road in New Zealand, and we're able to bring the vocal back to what it was as if you had Mac. Okay, so now I got the stuff. But because we didn't have every camera and things like that, and there's so much of it, I thought, look, I don't want to make a documentary or just heat up the old documentary. I don't want to make like a concert film. It's almost like, and it sounds a bit pretentious, but like a tone poem. A sort of experiential thing where it's as if Elvis comes to you in a dream and sings and tells his story.
Right.
And that's what we set out to make. Now, I have to say, I'm as kind of like thrown as you are. I can't tell you how many people have written to me and said, I've been going to TIFF 22 years, I've never seen anything like that. Me neither. You know, it was bonkers.
Did you get like, I mean, I don't know. You obviously had spent so much time now with Elvis, like making the Elvis movie, and like that was so wonderful. And like obviously, as a fan of his work, probably long before that, did doing this give you a newfound appreciation for him as a musician and an artist? Because I mean, like watching the movie, like not to step on your answer, but I was like, man, he is like an incredible singer, but he's such the way he like is his musicianship and like his respect for music and
He's
other
loved.
artists like really
Yes.
blew me away, and I didn't really realize that about him. I guess.
No, I mean, he covers some Bob Dylan in the show. And I don't know if you know, but there's a beautiful quote from Bob Dylan. He says, "The greatest moment in my life is when Elvis Presley covered one of my songs." I
Well.
mean, that's Bob Dylan, you know? Like, you don't put those two together that easily. I will say this. You are so right. And there's more. We've got more than in this. We can't do all of it right now, maybe one day. I mean, whole concerts that have never been seen. But what you absolutely get is that for a little kid from the poorest part of Tupelo, whose dad went to jail, whose mum used to run away in the middle of the night, that insecurity, music was his escape. Music was still his superpower. And his gift as a musician, he's like the Greek character of Orpheus. He takes a Simon and Garfunkel song, like Bridge Over Troubled Water, and he turns it into a operatic spiritual. And I think, and you know, you see that bit with his rehearsing with the girls. You go, oh, let's do the top line. He sings all the top lines. It's in his head. I mean, I can tell you this because we have, it's absolutely his voice 70% of the time. Sometimes we've had to use pre-recorded stuff just because I was doing different things.
Okay.
But 70%, when he's standing on stage singing How Great Thou Art, which is never before seen in 16mm, that is his voice on the stage. The guitar, other guitarist. The drum is Ronnie Tutt. Some of the orchestras and strings we had to re-record because they simply weren't recorded good enough. But I've heard him sing all those songs, just his voice. I have worked with so many iconic musicians in my life. I've made a lot of records. He is never out of tune. There's not even a wobble. Like, he has a way of bending notes, always landing, and he has a way of interpreting a song that makes it his own. You know, so that's a remarkable gift. And I always feel you get this feeling with him that he's a bit uncomfortable with how attractive and charismatic he is. You know, he doesn't feel like he deserves it. He doesn't really, why me, sort of thing. But when it comes to the music, there's no question. He's completely comfortable.
It's funny how he is so like he's so handsome and so charismatic, and yet obviously you had Austin Butler playing Elvis in the movie. But I was like, man, as much as I love, I was like, compared to like the real, like when you watch the movie here, I was like, oh my god, he's just like such a. No wonder he was like the highest paid star, obviously, like Elvis was in Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like he's an incredible performer.
You know what? I mean, I got a picture
here.
Yeah,
he's great.
Somebody says they actually say, like, you sure they didn't use him to Michelangelo didn't use him to model David? I mean, the face at his prime in anamorphic 35mm. I mean, I just saw it in IMAX. Like, you're a bit like, I don't know. It's a little overwhelming. And, of course, imagine walking around inside of that. And you're a gifted musician. And you're also very vulnerable. And, you know, your parents couldn't read or write.
Right.
You know, he was the first person to graduate in high school. And then overnight, you're the most famous person on the planet. Any wonder, flying close to the sun. You know, like the journey, the architecture of the journey. And although I mean, Austin was amazing. As my kids said, they said, gee, that Elvis guy does a really good Austin Butler, you know. But it's, look, we worked on it. We loved working on it. I didn't have to write it. I didn't have to shoot it. I didn't come to the part we did exhausted. And it was actually nothing but joy. But the stuff you see, the vulnerability of him, and people just go, I didn't know that was the person I met on that screen. I really like him. And I want to hang out with him. And as you saw, he talks about, Byrne says, well, when he was a kid, they used to scratch him and tear his claws off and want to eat him. Which they really do. You see him in the kissing scene. I felt like people in the theater were going to stop tearing the cinema
They're going to rip the screen.
Like,
It's really crazy. Did you get like Did you learn anything new about Elvis doing this?
Sure.
That you hadn't even learned previously?
No, I did. I think more the musicianship. I mean, I knew he was musical, but the sheer ability to hear a song and place it and reconstruct it. I think what I really learned was his humor, actually. He's always sending himself up. There's that bit, where he's on his reading, he's going, puts me on tips, and I've got ants in my pants, and he goes, damn, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, but not really. no. And he goes from being completely silly about Ed Sullivan, and then he goes, not really. What really happened? He looks up, and for that few seconds, he's incredibly, perfectly vulnerable and honest. You know, and I think what I learned was that he was probably unbelievably uncomfortable off stage, but on stage, he was completely at peace and comfortable.
And bringing it like every
and you
show.
never knew, as he said, you never knew what he was going to do.
Yeah.
So everybody in the band, Ronnie Tutt was like saying, I just had to watch him. I mean, he could say like, okay, Bridge Over Troubled Water. No, actually, we're going to do How Great Thou Art.
Yeah.
Or just sing it. And it kept them all alive. And that thing he says where every audience is a new audience. I mean, I think that's what makes, look, I won't say, look, a certain, a very famous, iconic rock star, like said to me, like, thing with Elvis is like, I would practice my steps, and like Michael would practice his steps. He just went and did it. And I thought that was a really amazing observation, is that he says it. He says, well, I just do what I feel. And all that movement in that, I mean, all that, like it just flows. It's natural.
Do you have like, I guess with this movie, one of the things I was taking away from too is like, I don't want to say Elvis is underrated, but I was like watching, I was like, he's such a great, like we're saying, like a great musician, a great singer, and obviously so much of his performance and his persona is spectacle, but like, underneath the like, do people discount him, like, or had they discounted him maybe because of the amount of spectacle around him?
Yeah, I think what happens. I think what
Okay.
happens is he starts actually out as such a terrifying punk rebel. It's hard to believe that the adult world actually thought he might be Satan. There was actually a comic called Elvis Presley as Satan in the 50s. Then he goes away in the movies, and he's so charismatic when he comes back, but he's the highest paid actor in Hollywood. But they eventually become sort of not good by his own admission. And then he becomes sort of irrelevant with the Beatles and all that. He says, I got to show people what I can do. And then he comes back. I mean, what's extraordinary is that even to this day, from a Paul McCartney to the Boss to anyone, like, they still go, yeah, but it's Elvis. I mean, and I think what's happened is he became such a Halloween costume, such a kind of meme and all that stuff, that what got lost in all of that, I mean, you might say, well, what about the jumpsuits? Well, his 70s clothing has kind of been done by Tom Ford and Gucci, from the 90s. Like, he didn't have a stylist. He made all those looks up.
Oh, wow.
That's him, There's sort of sideburns and that's been copied and I mean, how about those floral shirts?
Great.
I know you want one. I can't get you one.
Damn it.
You look good, dude.
I think I would too.
I mean, come on, step outside your comfort zone.
The jumpsuits remind me of like Benson Boone, right? Like they all like it's all come back,
well,
right? Like they're all like kind of like doing
Mick
them.
was wearing them, and actually, a guy called Bill Ballou designed them.
Okay.
He did the first show in '69 when he did it once in a sort of a black two-piece. The white jumpsuit was a stroke of genius. He designed a costume for Muhammad Ali.
Oh wow!
Right, that Muhammad Ali wore, and the whole high collar was because he had a very long neck. And the designer Bill said, well, what about Napoleon's neck? And if you look, sometimes he does look like Napoleon. Generally, you think, oh, that could be Napoleon. So, but it's all Elvis fashion. I mean, he comes up with his stuff. Yeah, it's him. Wow. And he works with people. He's a very good collaborator. Like he says, as a musician, they try this, and I hear all this, and it inspires me. He goes, I like that, not so much that. And with the clothes, and I mean, by the way, he was wearing makeup and the whole look and stuff at a high school. I mean, go figure. And, people went down in the South there, they weren't particularly liking that kind of thing.
I can imagine.
We don't like you around. There's a line in that movie where he's punching someone. He goes, we don't like you kind around here, sideburns, Do
you have like, I mean, we're talking about this and like what a great theatrical experience this was here at TIFF. Like you're screening it again in IMAX. What's the future for this movie that like you're hoping for, or that can this movie like get to this audience that obviously would be very passionate about Elvis?
As we are speaking, I can't go into it too much.
Sure.
Imagine we've made a baby. Our movie is our baby.
Yes.
There's an adoption agency out there, and there's a lot of lovely families. Some are on your television.
Sure.
Some have theater chains. And there's lovely families are vying to adopt our child.
Okay.
Let's just put it that way.
Okay, that's good. I hope so, because it really does deserve
I mean, I am
that audience.
I am being insistent that there should be a theatrical element to it, because we've made it. I mean, Elvis is, for someone who is so vulnerable and somewhat delicate inside, he's such a big star with a big voice, so he needs to be seen on the big screen. And I think what we've made, I mean, we can go on about it, but until you actually see it, I know what you mean. When you see his face, and this kind of what used to look like posters and stuff, but you see it in like IMAX at that quality. It's the quality.
It
I mean,
looks
it's not just
amazing.
as
Yeah.
The humanity is there. So I think it deserves to be out there. If nothing else, I'll do a few road shows. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to, I mean, eventually it'll end up on someone's iPhone, probably on the bullet train in Tokyo. But for the moment, right, let's get it out on the big screen.
I will say this, though. No matter what you're watching, I mean, like, yes, it definitely deserves this, but, like, even that person, like, a year from now watching on their phone is still going to, I feel like, get that. The way the movie is made, you're going to still get that, you're going to see Elvis, like, you hadn't seen him, and get that feeling about it, right?
I'll get fried for this, but to be honest, the resolution on iPhones with your headsets in, you can get a kind of very, very powerful experience. Look, I saw Lawrence of Arabia when I was a kid on a black and white TV.
Of course, yeah.
Then I saw a scratchy print in our little cinema, and then I was very privileged to be with a certain person. I won't go into it, but he refurbished it. His name rhymes with Meven Bielberg, and his 70 mil print, right, on the biggest screen ever of Lawrence of Arabia. Every single time, it was a seminal experience for me. Of
course.
So you know what I mean. I want to see it on the big screen. I think it deserves to be seen on the big screen. But either way, I think it plays.
Like a good movie plays anywhere.
Well, basically. Yeah, but I got to say, John and I think would agree with this. Yes, we made a lot of strong choices. Yes, we carved a lot away. But in the end, what makes that extraordinary effect on the audience is actually that guy.
Right.
It's him.
Right.
And I think all we did was get all of the rusty noise out of the way that's around him.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, we could wrap up there, but it's a great answer because I've just never seen Elvis like this before, and including your great movie, which is like a massive hit and Oscar nominee and winner, or Oscar nominee, and just incredible stuff. Baz Luhrmann.
Thank you, man.
Elvis Presley in concert, epic. It's truly epic.
See Elvis sing and tell his story like never before. It's not a concert film.
Not a concert film. It's a tone poem?
It's not a documentary.
Is it tone poem?
It's epic. That's my logline. It's a bit of a tone poem, but I mean, who's going to know what that is?
I like that better. That's good. It's not a documentary. It's not a concert film. It's epic.
It's epic.
That's great. All right.
Thank
you so much, Baz. It was great.
It's been cool.
It was nice.
I want to see you in a floral shirt next time.
I'm coming. Come back. I'll definitely put one on.